where we can see that Islamophobia is both structural and cultural. It's affecting everyone. It's affecting the health of our democracy, and that's why we need to have this conversation.
After 26/11 in class 12, I was called, I think, terrorist, I was called by a student.
I used to go to a convent school, which had a skirt, so we would be wearing a hijab and leggings down there, and we would be told to take it off right outside the gate, which was a very humiliating experience. My mom would give me paratha and chicken, like whatever leftover meat that would be in the tiffin, but she would hide it between like one one layer of paratha, and she'd be like, "You have to be careful, okay?" like, because I think there was something in the school rule that you cannot bring non-veg. Why would you like to censor? Why would you like to regulate what people are eating?
Welcome all to Dent News New Podcast. We are discussing today rise of Islamophobia in schools of India. As we know, there was a huge furore regarding one incident that happened in Muzaffarnagar. Then we have another incident in New Delhi. Then on 3rd September or near about that, we get to know about Manjula Devi, who is a teacher in Karnataka and has accused allegations at the Muslim students, and this is something which is more or less similar to what has been dished out at the Muslim students in the New Delhi case as well. So today, joining us is Sanya Mariam. She is a PhD scholar uh, in Australia, and she studies electoral politics and electoral parties. Welcome, Sanya Mariam. We also need to uh, talk about DYNT. DYNT means Democratize Your Nation Today, and one of our tagline is Awaken One Human at a Time. So, Sanya Mariam, opening comments, then we move into discussion.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Abid, for inviting me. This topic, Islamophobia, I think requires a lot of discussion, and it is affecting everyone. It's affecting Muslim men, Muslim women, Muslim children, but also it's affecting the citizens of the nation. Just few days ago, I read about how this conductor had stopped the bus because someone was praying, and then he was forced to resign, and then he later committed suicide. So it's affecting everyone. It's affecting the health of our democracy, and that's why we need to have this conversation. We need to talk one on one. We need to make people understand that it isn't just about one group of people. It's about the Adivasis, the Dalits, the students, and democracy itself.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the other marginalized people also into the equation. We have done two videos where we discuss the historical wrongs that have already been projected against the Adivasis, specifically regarding Bengal context. You know how the Matuas were not allowed to study in schools; they create their own institutes. Then we have the issue of Chuni Kotal in West Bengal who committed suicide way before Rohit Vemula. Chuni Kotal committed suicide because her teacher, she was in masters, and she was the first master student from her tribal community. But she was asked not to study. The teacher used to say, "Ki porashona kore ki korbi," and she had committed suicide. It happened during quote unquote golden period of West Bengal, under CPM rule. So we kind of tried to upset the apple cart there also. And as we know, various forms of Islamophobia happened in West Bengal and in Kolkata, and it used to happen even before the rise of BJP during CPM rule, has happened during Trinamool rule, and even before that. So, but most of the discussions that we do, it centers around a male Muslim child. I know that uh, what kind of experiences the male Muslim child in the school go through, but we do not know about the female Muslim student experience. This is where you come in. So, your thoughts on what has been your experience of Islamophobia growing up?
So, um, generally, Muslim women, discussing about the kind of discrimination that Muslim women face, in that way, we can see that Islamophobia is both structural and cultural. So, one is like the kind of conversations you have with your friends in school, and they'd be like, "आज हमारे यहाँ ये है तो तुम नहीं छूना ये कोई चीज," something like the concept of purity and pollution.
Mm,
I remember a friend telling us that do not touch my tiffin because my grandfather has died, and something about touching her tiffin would have contaminated that thing. But so these are interpersonal, sometimes discrimination, which even she might not be knowing that she is doing that, but she has heard it. Her mother has strictly warned her. um, that happens. Then there is a structural discrimination, which is through institute's policy. So I remember I used to go to a convent school, which had a skirt, so we would be wearing a hijab and leggings down there, and we would be told to take it off right outside the gate, which was a very humiliating experience. um, you know Taking off a garment in public in a society like India. And there would be
mm,
men who would be there to drop off their kids, but they would be staring. So a little bit of decent space inside the school, just let us come inside and then make us tell us to take it off, would have been a much more dignified experience. So it comes to these things, like sometimes discrimination, if you don't notice it, you think that it is not happening, but then when you look at it, it's about dignity. It is about respect. Like, what is that gaze with which you're looking at me?
mm.
So you know uh, if you get your nose pierced, let's say it's a cultural thing, and then the teachers would be judging you like, you know what is this class thing? Also, all of these are intersectional, as you know. So these class and religious discrimination all comes in together and takes in very orientalistic forms about who is a good Muslim student, who is a bad Muslim student. So these things come up, yes. And there are these notions which the teachers are themselves occupied with. But I have been blessed with, like, I remember when 9/11 happened, and there was generally a lot of fear. uh, One of the teachers came in, and I'm sorry, I don't know whether it was 9/11 or the Mumbai Taj attack, but she came in. She was an English literature, Mrs. K. Nag, and she said that I don't want any student talking bad about any other student. I have read the Quran, I have read the Gita. There's no such thing. Bad people do bad things and good people do good things. It was just so relieving to hear that. Because sometimes Islamophobia also takes the form of self-censorship, things you cannot
Mm,
say, things you're not
mm.
expected to say. And just giving us that thing that, okay, we still view you as the same, is also like, teachers can do a great job, and sadly, as some of the news that we are seeing, the teachers have not been doing a good job at all.
Yeah, Mane, your experience is different, while my experience is different. After 26/11 in class 12, I was called, I think, terrorist, I was called by a student. But the teacher did protest and, kind of punish that child. But this, before such things could happen, the way teachers at your school behaved, that is something that was not something that I got. And this insurance cover was not there for many of us. And even though the school I studied in did not have that kind of environment where, you know teachers were practicing Muslim phobia. So it was kind of a given that, even though I was the only Muslim student in my section, it is almost like given that it is not required. And to some extent, this, I think, you broach the subject in a very, unique way, because the experience that you are having, that or were having for more than 5-7 years, uh, That experience again is kind of created in the public space in Karnataka, where we see a hijab being an issue. It was made into an issue, obviously, for electoral dividend. And this is also another angle which we should give importance to, but I would not like to give importance to, because I don't think it's a quote unquote BJP thing. And even if BJP goes away, as Shovan was speaking in another Bengali video, we are not focusing on the societal reform. I think societal reform of the majority. This is something extremely important. And as far as the purity and the notions of untouchability that you felt, similar thing is happening to other students, non-Muslim students also, who bring meat in schools of Kolkata. This has become a huge issue in the last 3-4 years. So I would not classify it only as a Hindutva thing. I classify it something far greater. It's a Brahmanism that doesn't want us to educate ourselves to go forward. It is the same Brahmanism that keeps recreating itself. It's like an organism that doesn't die. Okay, like even in the Swapnadeep Kundu case, it's a kind of Brahmanism that the child was from backward area, and he was pushed to die, and that death is a product of Brahmanism, and we see that in Jadavpur University.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like, do you have any experience as such in the university? Like, how has university been in India as well as in Australia? Can you do a
Oh,
comparison on that?
yeah. I usually feel shy discussing personal experiences though. But now that you have brought up the tiffin thing, another interesting thing that comes to my mind is that my mom used to, so we are like, we eat non-veg a lot. And whatever, there would be some leftover from the meal at night. And my mom would give me paratha and chicken, like whatever leftover meat that would be in the tiffin, but she would hide it between like one one layer of paratha, and she'd be like, you have to be careful, okay? Like, because I think there was something in the school rule that you cannot bring non-veg, so which is very strange. That why would you like to why would you like to regulate what people are eating? It's the same mentality as that of a state. But yes, the school is not very much different from that of a prison. They want you to behave in a certain way, eat a certain way, speak certain way. um, yeah, yeah. I've heard some of my friends say in their school that they would be fined if they would be speaking in vernacular. And
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah,
what is there
yeah.
to fine someone speaking in vernacular? So these all these notions, and then you're talking about how the experience differed.
Mm,
Actually, I never realized it, but when I came, so in even in IIT Bombay, if I would have to offer prayer, I would just, very shyly go to the most isolated place, behind some tree on top of a terrace, and I will offer prayer because, as you know, as a Muslim, we cannot leave these 5 time prayers, and they are an essential
mm,
part of our identity. So I would just be a bit shy and I would just offer it somewhere so that
mm,
no one sees me and it doesn't become an issue. Okay. And when I came to Monash University, and inside it there's a musalla for both, and it's a religious center. So there's one for the Christians, there's one for Buddhists, there's one for Jews. I was just so relieved. Then again it brings back to, why can't an educational institute have one room of dignified space for people who want to do things which are very essential for as a part of their identity? And inside the musalla, there would be things like, you can go, you can take a little rest, you can sit down, and although it's a small space, but again it brings back to, why not provide us spaces which are essential to us? Why should we be just shying around it? So that was one thing. Generally, it's an open liberal space, and that benefits us is in any way that you want. You can do whatever you want to do. If you are a practicing Muslim, you're free to practice, and if you If you aren't, then also you can just go about living your life, but it doesn't come with the prejudice, the kind of very nasty prejudice that we see in India about these people always, some people always judging you about whether you're a good Muslim or a bad Muslim. And that would depend on how much practicing you are as a Muslim.
Yeah,
So, and that would have certain notions about like, okay, so the more practicing, the more cutter, the more on the, Sufi, if you make a
yeah,
line between
yes,
Sufi
yes,
and Salafi, then oh, okay, that
yeah,
kind of Muslim. And then there would be people like, oh, we are not like, we're not very practicing it. So we are the good
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, yeah, we can have a nice discussion on this because I'm an expert on this, and the variety of Muslim that exists and how they, kind of kill their own diversity or use their diversity within their faith to kind of create different kind of alliances with the non-Muslim. We can have a good discussion on that, and I need to invite some other people also who will get obviously triggered by our discussion. Otherwise, फिर वो मजा नहीं आएगा. So coming forward, since we talk about your experience in Australia, somewhere down the line, the democracy in the political setup that you have already addressed, we also need to talk about the diversity. I think structural institutions, the problems of structural marginalization of various diversities across Indian institutions that has happened throughout India's what do you say, throughout the creation of India's history. And why, like, why our our older people, I think somewhere down the line we also need to talk about our older people, because here in the Muzaffarnagar case, the parents were not that serious, and you know uh, the mother says that we didn't take it seriously. Only when the video went viral, we tried to address it, but that also after there was public pressure, because police went to the father's place and the father was pressurized not to do an FIR against Miss Dagi. So, I think, kind of there is obviously societal we are the majority, but at the same time, the our own community also needs to be more vocal and more serious about these things, because our parents and the parents of our parents may not have faced this kind of discrimination, but going forward, the last 20 years or 25 years, the kind of phobia that we have been exposed to. What do you think about this point that I raise?
Yeah, I agree with you that we need to be more assertive, uh, because we as Muslims have always been told to be not communalize things. Not if you go to the further end, they will also go. Like technically, you will be blamed for any kind of communalization. So that's why the secular narrative does play down on the identity a bit. But at this time, yes, we need to be assertive. I agree with you. But at the same time, we cannot blame if the community is not coming out and doing it, because look at the cost of it. You can be ostracized from the community where you are living.
Mm,
You can be targeted even more. This particular incident in which the video went viral, it gathered public support and it brought about the change that it did, but we are not sure if that kind of might happen everywhere. What if the child was furthermore targeted after filing? I mean, see, any person would be hurt seeing the child being slapped. Now we need to think about why did the father, despite seeing that, thought it's better to not file a complaint. Think of the kind of pressure that he must be having in his mind of what are the different external sources that might affect him or his livelihood, maybe. So I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't blame the marginalized for not speaking up. Yes, I would blame the privileged definitely for not speaking. But at the same time, I agree with you that we need to create this culture of assertiveness, and it it has to come, and it is coming. We see a different kind of Muslim community based politics also coming up, and it is because of the resistance. Like Hannah Arendt says that if you attack me as a Jew, I will respond as a Jew, not as a global citizen. So I agree with that, and we need to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for being part of this interview. We'd like to have you more on our podcast and discuss far more serious things and not react to events. So, viewers, thank you for watching DYNT. Today, we are discussing growing Islamophobia in schools and how it is impacting the students that are already in such a what do you say in a like in such a age where they're already vulnerable as they are really young. Uh, but the experience we discussed today are of me and Mariam, where we have experienced such things where we are in the age of teens. So our experience is different, and it is difficult to bring young Muslim kids on this platform and discuss about these things because they are facing a lot of issues. And let's hope that we are able to provide a space for those experiences. Thanks for watching DYNT. Please watch, like, and subscribe to DYNT News and make our YouTube channel more successful. Thank you.